Hey, welcome to the next episode of Christmas Culture Club. I'm Julie.
And I'm Steve. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about Hallmark Christmas. What is a Hallmark Christmas? What do we mean by it? Julie, what's your thought?
So, I have to say that I am not the biggest fan of Hallmark movies, but I do respect that it is brought kind of a concept of Christmas and the feeling that everybody wants to feel. It's really put it into like a visual media that, everybody wants to feel warm and fuzzy and comforted and loved. And it's just like a bit of a display of the season. So, it's become such a huge phenomenon. And I think Steve is going to start us off with a quiz about the whole
Right.
thing that is Hallmark movies.
So I think probably both of us I've got a number of friends who are Hallmark Christmas movie fiends. They'll start, I think they start broadcasting these things in September, but they literally will watch them whenever they can. They will pick them up on the streaming service, they'll record them and they'll watch them all Christmas long. And the funny thing with me, and I've got some quiz questions though. It seems like they must reuse the exact same script every time. They change out whether it's the cute boy comes home to his country hometown, and the cute girl owns a hardware store or a bakery or a flower shop, or the cute girl who's a high-powered attorney is just disgusted with New York, comes home from Christmas, and they end up happily ever after. Yep, Hallmark movie, right? So here's my question regarding Hallmark movies.
Ready?
How many Hallmark movies do you think there are?
I feel like there's thousands, but like you said, they're all based off the same plot. So there's probably only five.
Yeah, the five flats. So of course now, all the different streaming services make their own versions. Netflix is actually promoting their version of Hallmark Christmas movies, but Hallmark itself, since 2009, has produced 300. Prior to that, when you go back to the late 90s, early 2000s, they had produced more than 100. So as of this date, there are over 400 actual Hallmark films,
Again,
Hallmark
all
Christmas films. Yeah.
based off the same five scripts.
Yep. The cute boy gets older. How they have the Golden Bachelor. It's going to be the Golden Hallmark film.
I'm okay with that. If people are comfortable and happy watching them, go for it.
Yep.
I have family members that they start watching, they're very dedicated, they watch or she watches. He takes one for the team and he knows it makes her happy. So they sit on the couch, they have hot cocoa, and it's their routine for like the month of November and December. So
Good for them.
there's a benefit to it. I cannot do it. I've watched maybe 6 or 7 of them at max. And, I like the locations. I'm a travel nut, so for me, it's about the pretty places that they're going.
Sure.
And then, in researching this episode, I realized, of course, it's all fake. It's all fake.
Sure.
So tell us about the budget, Steve. How do they make the fakeness?
So I guess the first thing to state about that is they make about right now. First, about how many films do you think are made every year?
I don't know. I mean, if you're telling me that there's only 400 that have been made since like basically 2000, I don't know, maybe somewhere like 10 to 20. I don't know.
I think it's exponentially increasing, right? Right now, over the last several years, they have made over 40 every year. Yeah. And as you're going through that, of course, because you're making so many, how much do you think they spend on average per each film?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think the production quality is very great. And, but I mean, again, it's almost expected. There's almost the cheese is part of the package. It's
Oh, yeah.
expected. So I don't know, $500,000 maybe.
So it's a little bit more than that. I think that just has to do with the actual cost of production.
Mhm.
The actual cost of production is typically budgeted somewhere around $2 million.
Okay.
Well, it's a little bit more, but you've got the cameras. In a lot of cases, especially if it's one of the higher end Hallmark productions, they do have to blow in the fake snow, which is actually soap. They call it Snope, I think is the term they use down
That's
in
awesome.
Disney World. And they blow it in and create this fake snow. Or, how much do you think each actor typically makes?
I mean, Lacey, whatever her name is, has got to be making a ton because she's in every single freaking one of them.
Sure.
I don't know, 100,000. I
So-
hope she's getting paid well.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times, and I'll get to in a minute, but a lot of times they're filming with Canadian actors. Most of them are probably, B-level television actors or B-level film actors. So the average actor pay will vary between $5,600 per show per movie and $24,000.
What?
The leads
Wait, say that again. Say that again.
$5,600 and $24,000. And the leads, the actual B actors, if they sign a multiple film deal, like you were talking with this Lacey person, whom I've never heard of, they might make up to $65,000 per film. But they're also filmed pretty quickly. I think typically the production timeline is about 2 weeks.
I did see
From,
that.
from
And
front to
that's
end.
amazing. Think about what you can do in 2 weeks, and how the entire arc, I mean, granted, it's not complicated. There's probably a lot of soundstage work and not a lot like on location. No
Mhm.
matter how much my travel heart actually wants to think that they're really in this beautiful snowy, like I want that town. I have to say, like I want that Christmas experience. And it's something that I'm looking at. Like we've talked about Carmel, Indiana a couple times that
Right.
both of us want to actually take a trip down there. I host people here in Chicago that I am currently booked for the month of December with house guests. And I have 4 different groups of people that are coming to Chicago so that I can deliver Christmas in the city to them. I've been doing this for years for friends. I love it. It makes my heart happy showing my city off. But it's like, oh, here's the Chris Kindle market. Oh, we're going to go on a
Right.
holiday lights tour. We're going to do, the Arboretum for illuminations. But I want to go to one of those destinations,
Right.
and we were just talking about I travel for works. I've moved a trip around recently and we're gonna go up to Vale and Ryan's gonna come with.
Oh,
Like I'm
nice.
kind of excited to like see the town. It won't be decorated for Christmas yet. It's like how do we deliver that? So that's part of what we're going to talk about today is,
Sure.
how are these places real? Are any of these towns that are featured in all of these Hallmark movies actually real destinations to go to for Christmas? And if they aren't, then what are some of the places? So
Nice.
but I don't know. Do you have any more quiz questions? Are
Well,
you going to
no,
tell us
I
more?
was going to put a concluding comment on the salaries. One of the things I did read is that if you get a really well-known TV actor, and typically
Mm.
they are TV actors that make these, that they can get up to $150,000 a film. But and look, for me, if I can make $150,000 for 2 weeks worth of work, I'd jump
Yeah,
it, right?
totally.
But I
I'm
don't have the
okay.
face anymore for the guy comes back to his hometown in the South, and the girl he loved in high school owns a ranch, and he just happens to know how to break horses and all those fun things.
I'm partial to the bakery ones. I'm a baker, so
Yeah,
I
me
always
too.
love the bakery ones.
At this point in life, going to a bakery is much more appealing than trying to break a horse.
Nice. Nice. All right. So,
Okay, locations.
yeah,
Go.
one thing that you talked about, we were talking about this before we were getting ready. Where are they filmed at?
Yeah, so it's really interesting to me. I'll ask you, we'll make an informal quiz question. So there are central areas where the Hallmark films are typically filmed. Any idea where most of them are shot?
Canada, snowy, it's beautiful. The people are really nice. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, Canada has done an amazing job of promoting filming. So it's not just Hallmark films. There are so many TV shows, movies. A lot of the B-level movies are filmed in Canada. And when I was looking at the research, so you're figuring from Hallmark, about 40 films a year, 95% of them are filmed in Canada, either in British Columbia, Calgary, Manitoba, or Ontario. And the other 5%, most of those, and you'll get to it, are filmed in Georgia.
So, I mean, again, it comes back to the concept of a sound studio. Oh, but there are actually cities that they do film at that have created the feel or already had the feel, and Hallmark is using that. So, one of the places, speaking of Canada, is Altamonte, Canada. So, or I'm sorry, Altamonte, Ontario.
Mhm.
And it's fairly close to Toronto. It's a cute little town. It's from like the late 1800s. They've got strong character in the town, and they call it the Christmas capital of Ontario. The whole town really does get into the spirit. So when I was digging into the how and why of each of these towns, like this town legit, being in Chicago, Ontario is actually really close for us. It would be something that I would totally travel to go check out. But they have a great tourism board. They had just already a calendar of events up. It was pretty intense. It seemed like a cool place that go hang out for a long weekend type of
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
And hopefully
Ontario
they get more.
alone is gorgeous. I
It
love
is, it is. And we forget how easily accessible it is. The dollar's not so great right now as far as the Canadians, it's painful for them. Americans, it's pretty decent for us. But in that kind of same area, so another place that's been featured in a couple, one that I saw was Moonlight and Mistletoe. This was apparently a very popular one. I believe it was 2 years ago. That one, the town that it was filmed in is Chester, Vermont.
Mm,
And I have to say, like, being from Chicago, I'm a New England girl at heart. Like, my husband's family is from Maine, and I've really gotten to know New England, and I really love like some of the traditional looks. So we drove through Vermont actually this summer, and I was driving through and I'm like, oh, this is such a cute Vermont town. And Ryan's like, you've never been here before. Like, what does that mean? I'm like, it's all white, it's clapboard, it's got shutters.
sure.
But Chester, Vermont actually goes pretty all out, and there are multiple towns in Vermont proper that are really keen on just the Christmas spirit. And they do reliably get snow. So, that's something that a lot of people look for.
So are
I've
they
got
typically filming in the
so
winter?
they're not filming in the winter, so they're going to do fake snow. They're going to do the snow,
Okay.
various things. I don't think I find it surprising that they're not filming kind of the winter, like the season after Christmas to prep for movies next year.
Sure.
The research that I read is that they're typically filming most of these holiday films are right now. They finish them up about mid-October, sometimes early September, depending on when the release date is for them. Post production is really fast, and then they just crank them out. So I think they're trying to keep them current, but I don't know that the ones that I've seen have not really. They're kind of timeless, I think would be the nicest way of putting it. There's not really mentions of current events. I guess maybe fashion styles would be a little bit more kind of why it would be focused, but yeah.
It would be interesting to go back to the earliest Hallmark films
Mm,
and to look at them, not from the storyline, 'cause like you said, it's all the same story, but to go back and look at the technology, like the boy opens his flip phone and dials his, "Hi, Brenda," that sort of
yeah.
thing. As opposed to now, it's like, yeah, send her a text. Hey, you in town?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it is interesting. And I know last year there was a lot of films that were set. The couple that I did see were, and I think it's because I actually sought them out, they were set in Europe. And I have a fixation,
Mm,
a very, very, very large fixation on European Christmas markets.
yeah.
So I currently have a trip planned for 2027 that we're going to go do 2 weeks doing the Christmas markets and just watching a bunch of them. I've spent a lot of time in Europe, so have you, but like I'm lived in Germany, knowing the German culture and seeing that, there was one particular Hallmark movie that I watched last year. Actually, it might have been Netflix now that I think about it, but it was set in Stuttgart, which is a town that I'm really familiar with. So it was kind of cool to see that. They did a good job. I feel like that had a little bit more maybe authenticity compared to some of the ones that were set here in the United States, that it felt a little bit more staged to me.
But you know what, too, to your point, you're starting to see not just, of course, not just Hallmark, but Netflix, TNT,
Uh-huh.
TBS. They're all doing these Christmas films too. And it's interesting to see that, like the big theme parks, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes too. They're not only do they deck it out for Christmas, but they're filming Christmas stories like, the family goes to Walt Disney World for Christmas and they encounter a lost little boy and turns out his dad is Santa Claus. That's those sort of stories. Dolly Parton, there's a Christmas at Pigeon Forge.
It's so pretty. Like, I have to say, I have a couple friends that have gone down, and it's now an annual tradition for them that they go down to Pigeon Forge. I don't know that they've gone into Dollywood, but just the entire Pigeon Forge Gatlinburg area goes all out for Christmas.
My mom used to live in Knoxville. And when my sons were young, one particular Christmas, we went down and spent Christmas. I have 5 siblings, and all of us went. We stayed in hotels. All the grandkids were there, and we spent Christmas with her. But we went into Pigeon Forge, and it was gorgeous. I mean, lights up everywhere. And I know they do special events. You can take a ski lift. They ski, of course. Take a ski lift up to the top of one of their mountains, and it's all decked out for Christmas. Pigeon Forge is gorgeous. And there are a couple films down there now too, but I
Uh,
think more and more we're going to see that sort of Christmas tradition where people look at it and go, we should do a film here for Christmas.
but the flip side of that is also we should celebrate as a family, exactly what you guys did.
Mhm.
Families are more scattered in the United States, statistically speaking, right now than they have been traditionally. And for you, you guys traveled to your parents or you guys chose a destination. For me, it's also like looking at where my friend group can get together. So right now, a lot of people are coming to Chicago because I create that Christmas vibe with people. our house is decorated like mad. I know all the places to go. Like, I really do wanna start having, like, 1 weekend a year throughout the Christmas season that it's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to this destination." And I have an aunt and uncle that I'm close with. We've kind of created that tradition, so they're the ones that we're going to the European Christmas markets, but, like, I really wanna go to Quebec. Quebec is supposed to be phenomenal for Christmas. I really like to do Pigeon Forge some year, and just spend 2, 3 days there and just kind of embrace the season. Everybody wants to feel it. It's it can get kind of overwhelming when you're at home, but, like, you watch a movie, you go to a destination, you have travel. Or, you have all these people that actually wanna travel on Christmas proper, that they wanna go somewhere and kind of create that spirit.
Sure. And I think that because I know we're talking a little bit in depth about Hallmark Christmas movies, but the concept of a Hallmark Christmas, and I
Mhm.
think that's exactly what you're talking about. You want to create that, Hallmark gift card, that gift card concept. It's tough sometimes with families being spread out or, some difficulties that families experience, but and see, some of the trips to go to Pigeon Forge and have a Hallmark Christmas there or Orlando or other places can be expensive and a lot of families can't afford it.
Right.
But most areas, most regions, there are places that have something that you can do that costs very little or nothing and experience that Hallmark Christmas sort of feel vibe.
Yeah. For us, we have 2 regions in the Midwest. We've got Frankenmuth, Michigan is a really big area, kind of like our Christmas town. I don't think that I've ever seen a Hallmark movie filmed there yet. So I don't know, maybe we should drop a line and maybe we should write a script or something. But there's Bronner's Christmas World, so it's a Christmas store that's been there for, I think, 60 plus years. I think they're on multiple generations of the family. And so the whole town has kind of now developed its identity around Christmas, and it is crazy. But one thing to note is any of these kind of regional areas, if you do want to do a trip there, you really need to plan in advance. I mean, Frankenmuth, really hard to find hotel rooms. People are staying 50 miles away and driving in for the day. Prepare for lines, pack your patience. Another area that we keep on talking about is actually Carmel, Indiana has kind of become a Christmas destination, but then you've got, like, looking at New England, Mid-Atlantic, Dutch country, Pennsylvania Dutch country, like Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I've had friends that have gone up there for long weekends to kind of, like, embrace the spirit. They do a really good job. Vermont, literally the entire state. My mother is a huge fan of Sound of Music. The
Mm.
actual Von Trapp family has a hotel
Hotel,
in
yeah.
Vermont, goes really nutso for Christmas. I've always wanted to get a couple girlfriends and go up there. But where is your favorite place to travel?
We know that. It's Walt Disney World, always has been, always will be. Although, you know what? I say that. We had the opportunity. Shannon, my wife, is a French professor here at our university. And so we've gone to France, a few times. She goes almost every summer with the study abroad program. But we spent our 10th wedding anniversary 7 years ago in London and Paris. And you talk about the Hallmark experience, the Christmas festivals in and around Paris and in and around London. You walk in and you're stunned. It can be sensory overload a little bit because they're not the quiet little quaint town that you see in the Hallmark films. There are these big carnivals, festivals that are amazing to go to. But I love both of those. And at some point, you and I've talked about the Chris Kindle markets around Europe and how cool it would be to do just a tour of 6 or 7 of them around there if you have the ability to do that. But there are Chris Kindle markets all over the United States. Carmel, you pointed out. Chicago has 3, and you get a little bit of a feeling of the Hallmark experience. But I think for me, talking about Orlando and Walt Disney World, I've been going there since I was in my 20s, and I've gone down there 3 or 4 times at Christmas. It used to be much more modest. They would do a little bit of decorating in each of the theme parks, and they had a thing called the Osborne Christmas lights over at Hollywood Studios, which was exactly what you expect to see in a Hallmark Christmas film. Everything's lit up and they'd make the snow and is falling gently over you as you're walking through these lit tunnels and it was really cool. But of course, Disney, they want to bring in people and make money. And I mean, primary goal, of course, bring joy. And so all of their theme parks have really gotten into the Hallmark Christmas concept where in every theme park, Epcot in the back area, the Disney around the world, Epcot around the world, the World Showcase, every country has their own theme based on how that Christmas is celebrated in that country. Father Christmas, Père Noël, and the Italian Christmas witch. So, they do it up big. Magic Kingdom, they do Christmas parades and Main Street, and everything's all decorated for Christmas. Hollywood Studios has gotten back into the act. So if you have the if you have the ability to afford to do something like that, it's really cool, and it is very expensive, but
Yeah.
it is really neat.
Yeah, they do deliver a high class experience. I mean, I have to say, my husband, I am more of a Disney nut than my husband. And we had gone down to Orlando a couple years ago and done the Main Street or the Christmas party at Disney World. And it was magic. I mean, we were at the parade on Main Street and they made the snow start falling and it was adorable. It made me feel like a little kid again, and I think that's part of what people are looking for is that kind of comfort and cozy. But then, I mean, you do have Universal Studios as well. We had
Yeah, they
gone,
do.
yeah,
They're big time.
yeah, yeah. But then you have places like Grapevine, Texas. I've been there a number of times for various work trips, and a couple of them have coincided around the holidays. And Grapevine is a crazy Christmas town. Holy bejesus, that is absolutely over the top. So a lot of it is centered around the Gaylord Hotel, which they decorate immensely. And they have like a whole snow sledding area that's indoors because it's Texas. But then the town of Grapevine like goes all out, very festive. Going back to people traveling maybe for celebrating the actual holidays, Park City, Utah, all of the ski towns in Colorado are actually very, very popular. Park City, I found the most information about, that it's still a little bit more affordable than maybe like Vail or something like along those lines where you're talking mega bucks to rent a house, but people want snow. You don't We forget that Steve and I live in a snowy climate. I just had family in town from Los Angeles. The kids have only seen snow 3 times. So for us, it's like, I'm done. Sure, everybody wants snow on Christmas, which we don't get frequently anymore. But there are a lot of people that want to book that holiday destination travel so that they can celebrate in a snowy climate. And it goes back to the whole concept of the look and feel of Christmas is very much tied to a northern experience, a cold experience, which is fascinating because I lived in New Zealand and I spent one Christmas there and I was really excited to spend Christmas on a beach. And for them, it's a barbecue. But we're going to go
Mm.
into that when we talk about Christmas around the world. We've actually got some cool personal stories about that. But as far as like when to book all this travel, now. Now, I mean, mid-October, prime time, you really need to get on it. I mean, some of the Park City, Utah, like if you want to be somewhere on Christmas proper, you should really be booking that probably March, April. You really want to plan ahead. I have a dream that someday I will spend Christmas in Hawaii.
Nice.
So I pay attention to that a lot. And I mean, that stuff is booked really March, April. If you want to get anything that is affordable, if you're not a lottery winner like me and Steve, then, you got to pay attention to the dollars and cents that you're spending.
And by that, Julie means we are not lottery winners.
Yes, sorry.
If we were lottery winners, we'd be having this conversation in Hawaii.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So yeah, I mean, you really like Christmas travel itself is very, very much a plan ahead. Work with the travel agent, get comfortable with somebody. You really just need to like understand what your family expectations are, what your budget is. But I did just see somebody that I'm on a lot of travel groups, especially a lot of the European cruise groups, I should say European river cruise groups for Christmas. And I just saw somebody that booked a last minute one today was like, oh my God, I just booked this. It's crazy. It's one of my bucket list items. And we're leaving in. So the European Christmas markets start roughly December 1st for the most part. And we're going to have a whole episode about planning a trip to the Christmas market. So it's definitely a topic that I've dove deep into, have a couple experts in my world that we're going to talk to about it. But get out and explore. Be like me. Take a weekend. It's time that you want to share with your loved ones. You want to take kids in your life to go celebrate Christmas.
Yeah, and I mean, part of what we talked about, or about the Hallmark films and Hallmark Christmas as a Christmas celebration. How do you make a Hallmark Christmas? Some of them can be very, very expensive, but it doesn't have to be. There are so many communities. There's a little town not far from where we live that the entire downtown area decorates. We talked one of our first 2 episodes about when I lived in Lafayette, Indiana, when Shannon was working her PhD. The town of Lafayette, the downtown area, would do a Christmas weekend where all the shops were open and they had hot chocolate. They had a touring production of A Christmas Carol on the street as you were going through. Little things that cost literally nothing that can just imbue you with the spirit of a Hallmark kind of setting. And I think that's the key element. We both love to travel. We're very, we're fortunate enough that we can, by saving, are able to do some traveling. And we recognize, I mean, there were times when I grew up, we didn't have a lot of money, but the communities did things and they do them all over. It may be anything from the local towns to things like there are, and I know they have them all over Chicago. Some people will just do this massive Christmas decoration outside their house, and you can actually contract they have your own little private FM radio channel for a certain amount of time, and they'll time the Christmas lights on their house to this music, and people will line up for miles just to drive by and see that.
It's my goal. I want to do that.
Ryan didn't hear that, I'm assuming. So.
Oh, we go through this every year as we're starting to
No,
talk about holiday, and he's just like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't want to do this. So I thankfully have a brother that's a computer geek that can figure out the programming. We just haven't quite gotten there yet.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I think that's a really valid point because we sit here and we watch the Christmas movies, and you want a piece of that in your life, and you can find that locally to yourself. I mean, I literally have 4 groups of people coming to Chicago because I can deliver that to them. I found it. And it's not just big city stuff like you were saying. Sure, there's a density of options that happen in Chicago, but it's also, I know that I have to be buying tickets for all of the events now. I need to plan it out because here in Chicago, you're competing with 3 million other people for those same events. So thankfully, I'm a planner, so it works out. You can grab at that spirit in so many different places.
a lot of local zoos will do a Christmas season celebration where they'll have special time frame that they decorate for the holidays. A lot of them will have special pricing certain days of the week if you want to take your kids to that. Theme parks, a lot of local theme parks that would normally close up either right after Labor Day, or sometimes they'll have Fright Fest or something like that. But a lot of them will do a winter fest. There's a huge one in Cincinnati at Kings Island. Even little things like Michigan City, Indiana does a really neat thing. They've got a park right near their small zoo. And their park, they put up these 4, 5, 6 foot Christmas displays. And it's a walk around. It's free. And depending on the night of the week that you go there, and I think it's lit until 10 o'clock at night during the weekend and 8 or 9 o'clock at night during the week. But you can go to the zoo for not much money at all and do that. So it's not difficult, I think, to create a Hallmark kind of feel.
Doesn't mean you have to buy a bakery.
That
Steve's going to learn how to break horses, apparently.
Yeah, I'm going to break horses, and Julie's going to make croissants.
Hey,
So
that is actually probably in my wheelhouse. Or
there
we're
you
going
go.
to open a bed and breakfast. That's honestly probably a
Yeah,
dream
that's
of
that's
mine.
the other thing. They own a bed and breakfast, and there's no place to stay except the bed and breakfast. And the girl coming home from her high-powered legal job in New York City goes to rent the bed and breakfast, not realizing that it's owned by her high school boyfriend, Chad.
I don't know about Chad. Chad's a bed. Anyway,
Anyway,
yeah, but I mean, it's fascinating to see like what emotional response it creates in people. Like my mom loves them. I mean, she literally will start watching them as soon as they get put on. She did watch some of them during the Christmas and July celebration. And actually, I'm looking at going to the Hallmark movie, or I'm sorry, the Hallmark Christmas weekend. So Hallmark is based out of Kansas City, and they have every weekend events in Kansas City stretching from mid-November all the way through to Christmas. And they bring in various Hallmark movie stars from all the
oh,
Christmas movies.
cool.
They do all sorts of forums talking about it. So I'm actually looking at going to one of them just to kind of dive deep into the whole concept of this world. So I'll have a report back. We might have to do a special episode reporting
Yes,
from the street at the Hallmark movie destination weekend. So we'll
cool.
see. But anyway, so
Right.
what's going on social media? What are we seeing? What are you seeing? What am I seeing?
At this point, I think it's a little early. I haven't seen anything from the hot toys yet. There's a Boo Boo doll that all the kids love. I imagine that'll be
Shoot, how is it pronounced? La Boo Boo, I
La
think is
Boo
what it
Boo. Yeah,
is.
La
La
Boo
Boo
Boo.
Boo.
And then there are
Yeah,
fake ones called La Foo Foo. Anyway, I think that's going to be a real hot ticket.
yeah. If you can find them. I
Yeah,
mean, they're nowhere to be found. My nieces are really into them, so
sure.
yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if makeup continues to be a thing, and what are the tariffs going to do to everything from the gift items. So that's going to be curious. In my world, like I pay attention to a lot of decorating sites and travel sites, and like I said, I just saw somebody book a very last minute European river Christmas cruise. And the good thing is something to watch out for, as you know, an aside, is the rivers are up this year. So
Oh,
sometimes
nice.
during years the rivers are too low, so they cannot do them by boat, and they move everyone to buses, and it's a very different experience. But yeah, so lots of last minute travel being booked right now. Last minute meaning middle of October for Christmas area. Also outdoor decorations, people are starting to game plan. The Christmas lights are out. Home Depot, Lowe's have dropped all of their Christmas decor. They've got these, Steve, you may hate me for telling you this, they've got these amazing Minnie, Mickey, Goofy animatronics that came out at Home Depot this year that are really stupendous. Actually, I wowed Steve the other day. Disneyland in California just announced that they are doing a Christmas Carol. Was it a brunch, I think?
It's yeah, it's a meal. It's a Chris at
Yeah.
one of their sit down restaurants that they're doing a Christmas Carol.
Yeah, his favorite. So, you know, it's kind of themed off of a Muppet Christmas Carol. It's pretty cool. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just prep work right now. Everybody's getting ready, everybody's planning. We'll start planning our outdoor Christmas display pretty soon. We got to get through Halloween first. And speaking of that, what are we going to talk about around Halloween?
So for our next episode, we're in my wheelhouse. We're going to do a creepy Christmas because we love the jolly old Saint Nick and all those things, but there are some really insane Christmas things that are truly creepy: ghosts, spirits, demons. Anyway, some of it is pretty eerie. So, and that we'll release that. It'll be available right around our Halloween. So you can see what's going on with that.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap for this episode. So thanks for joining us as always.